Have you ever opened your insurance bill and thought, this can't be right? Why is it so expensive? You're not alone. So many seniors feel that same frustration, month after month, year after year. And the worst part? Most of the time, you're not even using the coverage you're paying so much for, but you keep paying it just in case. It's one of those silent stressors in retirement. You try to budget wisely, stretch every dollar, maybe even cut back on things you enjoy, but somehow your insurance premiums keep going up and your benefits don't feel any better. Whether it's health insurance, life insurance, home, car, you name it, it all adds up, and often we're told there's nothing we can do. But here's the truth. Most seniors are overpaying for insurance simply because no one told them they didn't have to. You don't need to risk your coverage, give up peace of mind, or settle for confusing options just to save money. You just need the right information and a little strategy. In this video, we're going to talk about the 6 reasons seniors overpay for insurance. And more importantly, what you can do to fix it. These aren't risky shortcuts or shady loopholes. These are simple, smart changes that can help you save hundreds, even thousands, without losing protection you count on. Let's start with something that catches a lot of people off guard, sticking with the same plan for too long. It's easy to stay with what's familiar. You pick a plan, you set up automatic payments, and after a while, you don't really think about it. It becomes part of the background noise. But the insurance world changes fast. Rates shift, benefits change, new competitors come into the picture. And if you're not reviewing your plan every year or two, you could be paying way more than necessary. Let me give you an example. One gentleman I spoke with had been paying for the same Medicare supplement plan for nearly a decade. He liked his doctor. He didn't want a hassle of switching, and he figured loyalty would keep things simple. But after doing a little research, he found a nearly identical plan for half the price. Same network, same coverage, half the cost. All he had to do was ask. This kind of thing happens all the time. Insurance companies don't go out of their way to tell you when better deals are available. That's why it's so important to take a fresh look at your coverage every now and then. A quick annual review, especially during open enrollment or renewal season, can reveal new opportunities to save. You don't have to be an expert. Just asking a trusted agent or using a comparison tool can open up options you didn't even know existed. And that brings me to another common reason seniors overpay, buying too much coverage. Now I get it. When you've worked hard your whole life, raised a family, and built something worth protecting, the last thing you want is to leave yourself or your loved ones uncovered. So it's natural to lean toward more coverage just in case. But over time, that just in case adds up. For example, maybe you bought a big life insurance policy in your 40s or 50s, when you still had kids at home and a mortgage to pay off. That made sense back then. But now, the kids are grown. The house might be paid off. You might even have savings set aside for final expenses. So, do you still need that same level of coverage? Or could you scale back, simplify, and redirect those dollars towards something that serves you better now, like healthcare, travel, or home maintenance? Same goes for auto insurance. If you're no longer driving much, or only using your car locally, you might not need as much coverage as you did when you were commuting or taking long road trips. It's worth checking whether your current driving habits could lower your premiums. Many insurers even offer low mileage discounts, but you have to ask. It's not about cutting corners. It's about right-sizing your coverage to fit your life today, not the life you had 20 years ago. Because when your needs change, your insurance should too. Now, another area where costs quietly climb is bundling the wrong way. You've probably heard the advice to bundle and save. And yes, sometimes bundling your home and auto insurance, or combining other policies with the same company, can get you a discount. But here's the catch. Not all bundles actually save you money. In some cases, bundling keeps you locked into higher rates because it's harder to compare each policy individually. Let's say you get a good deal on home insurance with one company, but their auto rates are sky high. You bundle them together thinking you're saving, but really, the combined total ends up costing you more than if you had split your policies between two companies. The bundles sound convenient, but you end up paying for it, literally. That's why it's worth looking at each piece of your insurance puzzle separately, and then seeing where it truly makes sense to bundle. And don't be afraid to switch things up. Just because you've been with a company for a while doesn't mean they're still offering the best deal for your current situation. Now that we've covered reviewing your plan, scaling your coverage to fit your needs, and being smart about bundles, let's keep going. Because the next tip is one that most people never even think about, and it could be costing you more than you realize. One of the sneakiest ways insurance costs creep up is by adding on little extras that sound useful, but end up doing more for the company's profits than your protection. You know those little add-ons they offer when you're signing up? Things like roadside assistance, identity theft monitoring, rental car coverage. It all sounds helpful, right? But when you look closer, many of these extras are things you either already have elsewhere or simply don't need anymore. Let's take identity theft monitoring. For example, it might be built into your credit card or even offered for free by your bank. Or maybe you're already paying for a separate service that covers the whole family. So why pay for it again through your insurance? Same goes for roadside assistance. Some people have it through their phone plan, car manufacturer, or even a warehouse club like AAA. Yet, without realizing it, they're also paying for it on their auto policy. These overlaps can easily add up to an extra $20, $30, even $50 a month, and for something you don't even use. That's why it's so important to review your policies with a fine-tooth comb. Not just the big picture coverage, but the small print too. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Do I already have this somewhere else? Is this worth the extra cost? And don't be afraid to call the insurance company and say, hey, I noticed this extra fee. Can we remove it? You'd be surprised how often the answer is yes, and how quickly that monthly premium drops once it is. Speaking of calling the company, let's talk about another powerful yet underused tool, negotiation. So many people don't realize that your rate isn't always set in stone. Yes, they send you a bill with a number on it, and it feels final, but often it's just a starting point. And if you're willing to ask a few questions or shop around, you might be able to lower that number without giving up anything important. It's not about being pushy, it's about being informed. For instance, if your driving record is clean, or you recently retired and drive far less than you used to, that should count for something. If your home has had upgrades, new roof, security system, even a smart thermostat, that's worth mentioning. Insurance companies often offer discounts to those things, but they won't apply them unless you speak up. One couple I know hadn't updated their auto policy since they were both working full-time. Now, they only drive a few miles a week to the grocery store and church. After one phone call and a quick conversation, their premiums dropped by over $300 a year, all because they told the company what had changed. It's also perfectly okay to let your current insurer know that you're shopping around, not as a threat, but as a reminder that you have options. They know it's more expensive to lose a long-time customer than to offer a small discount to keep them. So ask. It doesn't hurt, and sometimes all it takes is one conversation to get a better deal. Now, while we're on the topic of asking questions, here's something else that trips people up: not fully understanding what they're paying for. And I don't mean that as a criticism. Insurance language can be confusing on purpose, full of terms like deductible, co-insurance, riders, and exclusions. It's no wonder people just nod along and hope for the best. But here's the thing. When you don't know what's covered and what's not, it's easy to overpay because you're buying out of fear. You want to feel secure. You want to protect your health, your home, your loved ones. So when someone offers you more coverage just in case, it's tempting to say yes. But sometimes that coverage is already included, or it covers such a rare situation that you're better off putting that money towards something else. That's why having someone you trust to walk you through your policy, whether it's a family member, a financial advisor, or even a representative from a nonprofit organization can be a game changer. Someone who can look at the details and say, "You don't need this," or "This is worth keeping," and help you make sense of it all. There are even free counseling services in many states that help seniors with Medicare questions and supplemental insurance. These aren't salespeople. They're trained volunteers whose only goal is to help you understand your options and avoid paying for things you don't need. Just having someone explain the fine print in plain English can save you from making a costly mistake. It all comes down to confidence. When you understand what you're buying, you can make smarter choices. You stop overpaying out of fear and start spending with purpose. And that brings peace of mind. Not just because your insurance is in order, but because you know you're not throwing money away on something you don't need. Next, we'll dive into something a lot of people overlook when trying to cut costs, even though it might be the most powerful change of all. And that brings us to one of the most overlooked yet powerful strategies of all, bundling your insurance. Now, I know bundling might sound like something that's just for cable or phone plans, but when it comes to insurance, especially home and auto, it can actually make a big difference in your wallet without putting your coverage at risk. Think about it this way. If you're paying two separate companies for different policies, say one for your house and one for your car, you're likely missing out on a pretty decent discount. Most insurance companies want your business, all of it. So when you give them more than one policy, they often reward you with lower combined rates. And not only that, having everything in one place can make it easy to manage and keep track of. Fewer bills, fewer logins, fewer headaches. Now, of course, this only works if the bundle rate really does save you money. Sometimes companies offer small discounts, but their individual prices are still higher. That's why it's so important to actually run the numbers. Don't just take their word for it. Ask for the quote. Then compare that total to what you're paying now. And remember to factor in the quality of service, too, because a great price doesn't mean much if the company is impossible to reach when you need them most. That's another area where seniors often get the short end of the stick. Customer service. So many people tell me they've been with the same insurance company for decades, and yet when something goes wrong, they're treated like just another number. Long hold times, confusing forms, rude agents, and that's just not okay. You deserve to be treated with respect, especially when you're paying thousands of dollars a year for peace of mind. If you ever feel like your insurer isn't meeting your needs, it's okay to look elsewhere. Loyalty is a wonderful quality, but not when it's costing you money and leaving you frustrated. There are plenty of companies out there that actually specialize in working with seniors, with simplified policies and dedicated support teams who understand your lifestyle, your concerns, and your priorities. And let's be honest, life changes after 60. The way we drive, the way we use our homes, the kind of health care we need, it's not the same as it was in our 30s or 40s. So our insurance shouldn't be, either. That's why reviewing your coverage every year or two is so important. Not just to make sure you're not overpaying, but to make sure your coverage still fits your life. Maybe you used to drive cross-country twice a year, but now you mostly stay local. Maybe your kids have moved out and you no longer need that extra liability coverage. Or maybe you've downsized, gotten healthier, or installed some safety features in your home. Every little change can be an opportunity to adjust your policy and save a bit more. And I know, insurance isn't the most exciting thing to sit down and review, but if it can free up even a few $100s a year, that's money you can put towards something you do enjoy. A weekend getaway, a new hobby, treating the grandkids, or simply saving a bit more for peace of mind. You earned it. You worked hard. You deserve to spend your money where it matters most. So let's just take a breath here and recap what we've talked about, without listing anything or making it too formal. At the heart of it, this is really about being empowered, about not settling for what everyone else does, about remembering that you have choices, and that even small tweaks to your insurance setup can make a meaningful difference in your day-to-day life. It's about asking the right questions, being curious instead of intimidated, taking that extra 15 minutes to call your agent or review your policy with someone you trust. It's not about cutting corners or taking risks. It's about trimming the fat, so to speak, and keeping only what truly protects you. And here's the truth. You don't have to be an expert to make smart decisions. You just need to be willing to take that first step. Maybe it's asking your insurance company for a review. Maybe it's comparing rates online. Or maybe it's simply starting a conversation with your spouse or a family member about whether your coverage still fits your lifestyle. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really about insurance. It's about freedom. Freedom from wasting money. Freedom from unnecessary stress. And freedom to live the way you want to live, knowing that you're covered in all the ways that matter and none of the ways that don't. If this video helped you think a little differently about your coverage, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's one thing you've done to save money on insurance? Or what's one question you've always wanted to ask but never did? Let's help each other out, because this community is full of wisdom and life experience, and your story might just inspire someone else to take action too. If you found this helpful, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more tips, tools, and conversations to help you live your best life after 60. We got plenty more coming your way, and I'd love for you to be part of it. So here's to spending smarter, living better, and protecting what matters, without overpaying a dime more than you have to. You've earned that peace of mind, and I'm proud of you for taking the time to get informed and take control. Until next time, take care of yourself, and keep living boldly, one smart choice at a time.